This is Karen with newclevelandradio.net, and it is time for What in the World with Paul Seaburn and his sidekick, John Donalo. And for all of you who are tuned in today, it is a Tuesday at 3:30. We're actually here on the day we're supposed to be here. So
Unbelievable.
it's going to be a great show.
What in the world? How on earth did that happen? That we're actually on when we're supposed to be on? For all of you who listen in live, yes, it's What in the World. It's me, Paul Seaburn, your host. Everybody's favorite weird news podcast, real news, sometimes strange, always funny. That's our motto. We are here most Tuesdays at 3:30 Eastern Daylight Time. Rainy day here in Northeast Ohio, but that's okay. You know, we'll take that over snow or all the other bad things,
Right.
kind of weather that happen here. The so yeah, we're here. We're here. Thank you so much. If you're listening in live, if you're listening in the future, you'll already know whether the Cavaliers won or lost tonight. That's probably about all we're going to say about. Oh, I have one more thing we'll say in a minute, but we've got all kind of great things for you on What in the World this week. We are on the newclevelandradio.net platform. So go to newclevelandradio.net. You'll find a link to downloading our podcast either on Spotify or Apple, all those good places, your favorite podcast platform. Also from YouTube, please check us out on YouTube. We always have some great photos that go along with our stories. We'll describe them for you, but it's always fun to take a look at them. If you want more information on me, you can go to my website, paulseaburn.com. You can also go to MysteriousUniverse.org, which is where I work during the day, writing stories about more paranormal, more UFOs, Bigfoot, all that good kind of stuff. Although I do have a Bigfoot story today, so we'll be talking about Bigfoot on this show as well. So let's see. Let's introduce the voices that you've been getting in your head. If you have more than two, you're in trouble.
They might, because there is feedback coming from someplace, and I have
there is
everything.
again.
Yes,
Wow.
and I have everything turned off on my computer.
Wow, that's weird. I've got nobody at home here, so it could be something I do. I hear it now as well.
So we apologize, but there's no way to control it from here.
Okay. Well, we'll just listen closely. For the first voice you just heard a second ago is our producer, co-host, media mogul at newclevelandradio.net, Karen Hale. All kind of great podcasts at newclevelandradio.net that she's involved with. So please check them out after you check us out. Also check out Yes I Can Coaching with Karen. Great coaching services from her. Also our sponsor. So please, you're helping all of us out by checking out her coaching. The other voice you hear in your other ear is none other than our sports guy and co-host, John Donalo. John is dressed in his Cavaliers paraphernalia today, and we're hoping that the Cavs win tonight so we can continue to talk about them. Hi, John. How are you?
Oh, hi, Paul and Karen, audience. Yes, we're hoping the Cavaliers can have a good game tonight and continue on in the playoffs, even though they had a rough go of the last game, and hoping that they can do their best and again continue on in the playoffs.
Yeah, so John's got some other great sports stories for us today, both during the podcast and in his usual spot at the end for What in the World of Sports. So let's get right to it. Let's see. We've got some great stories here. We've got an excellent egg study. I'm not sure where it's from, but it's excellent. Divorce by coffee grounds. A story from Greece. This is a really weird thing here. Robot car salespeople in China. Another job that we're losing to robots. The coldest feet on the planet. This is from Poland. We'll hear about that. A strange UFO sighting in Kansas. A bobblehead Pope. I think we were busy talking last week when the Pope was elected. So we got a little bit on the bobblehead Pope and other religious bobbleheads. We've got some high-tech zippers and the best zipper music. plus we got some more odd news. We've got some world records. We've got some trivia. John's got a couple of strange sports for us, and then we play everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the co-host. All right, so let's get right to it with our first story. If I turn, I don't think that's going to make any difference there. All right, in a new study, this is our egg story, our excellent story. New study. Before I do that, because I can't do two things at once, I'm going to set up our photos here on YouTube. There we go. Okay. So let's see. There's our logo. Here's a picture of my. What would you say to a naked space alien? Now available on Amazon, or you can check out a link on my podcast, on my website, paulsieber.com. Okay, we got all the plugs out of the way here. New study: researchers dropped 180 raw eggs from a height of a third of an inch, so not real high, about a third of an inch, with either the sharp end down, that's the pointy part, the blunt end, the flat end down, or vertical, sideways, to see which method survived crashes the best. And the ones that fell on their side survived the most drops. They wanted to buy some more eggs to drop from greater heights than a third of an inch, but their grant had a $100,000 limit, so they weren't allowed to buy any more. 180 eggs was all they could afford.
Okay.
I was surprised. I would have thought that the blunt end would be the strongest. John, what do you think?
Yeah, I kind of agree with you on that, Paul. I thought the blunt end would have been the strongest as well.
Yeah. So they explained it. There's a big, if you look up the study, there's a big technical physics. Big physics is involved in all kind of, I don't know, maybe what the chicken ate before it laid the egg. It's all kind of weird stuff. But I was wondering, and they answered this. They said that dropping bacon at the same time from the same height had no effect, but it made the test a lot more fun. So
that would stand to reason, I think.
Oh, no kidding. And not surprisingly, the researchers are now participating in another study on high cholesterol. So I think I know what they did with the egg. This was conducted at a college, John. This was conducted at Western Omelette University.
Okay.
Yeah, Western Omelette University. The fighting chickens, fighting red Gamecocks. There we go. There had to be a chicken name in there somewhere.
Get it to work, Paul.
Yeah, I'm still warming up here, John. I'm still warming up. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So speaking, let's stick with the food theme here for a little while longer. So, a guy by the name of Thomas Sheridan in England is on a very strict daily diet of, get ready, 2 loaves of white bread, 3 bowls of plain whole wheat cereal, and all the candy he can eat. Why would he be doing that? Because he's suffering from a disease known as avoidant restrictive food intake disorder, or ARFID. In the US, the same disease is called BASMS, which stands for being a supermodel syndrome. Here's a lady picking out her loaf of bread right there. I think she's so this poor guy, he's had this all, never tasted fruits or vegetables. So it's hard to tell if he's suffering from the disease or if, maybe he's enjoying it. If he's not a big fan of broccoli, for example. But what he says what he finds really annoying is that he can't drink, because if he gets a hangover, there's nothing for him to eat at Waffle House when he goes to school.
Yeah, that's a conundrum there for sure, right?
A conundrum. I think that's what he called it. He loves music. Here it comes. Get the horn ready, Paul. Okay. He loves music, but he can't stand listening to Meatloaf, Red Hot Chili Peppers, or Black Eyed Peas.
Okay.
It's all connected, Paul.
It's all connected. It's all connected through the gut, of course. We all live through our stomachs. All right. this is the wildest thing. This comes from Greece. A woman in Greece decided to divorce her husband of 12 years. Okay, so this is a substantial amount of time. They've been married. But before she did, she consulted with Chat GPT, the artificial intelligence service, and even the Pope says it's dangerous to deal with Chat GPT. Well, she decided to ask Chat GPT if she should divorce her husband or not, and what Chat GPT asked for was a picture of the coffee grounds from his cup, because it was a psychic kind of Chat GPT service she was using. So by reading the coffee grounds in his coffee, Chat GPT said, "You should divorce this guy. He's cheating on you." This is why I only drink milk. I don't drink coffee anymore.
Oh my.
Can you believe that? She doesn't ask him. She goes to ChatGPT, which says, "Show me your coffee grounds," and from that she decides to divorce him.
Well, I'll tell you what, Paul and Karen and audience, we've had some outlandish stories on this show for years. Outlandish. This has got to be right in there with them.
Well,
I mean, this is going to be one of the most.
it gets better. It gets better, John. So she uploaded the photos of the grounds, and it not only did it claim he was cheating on her, it even said that it was cheating on her with a woman whose name begins with E. So I'm thinking Eleanor,
Eve, maybe Eve, right?
yeah. But then I figured it out from the coffee. It must be espresso. That's who he's cheating with.
Oh,
So what do you see? So she wouldn't believe. So she confronts her husband, and he says, "I'm not cheating on you. What the heck is this all about?" She didn't believe him, and she filed for divorce 3 days later. Ironically, her lawyer is a guy that she met at Starbucks. So, coffee is playing a big part in all of this.
Oh,
The
wow.
yes.
Yeah, the husband blames the whole thing on her family, which he says is chock full of nuts.
Oh,
Now, what do you see when if you're worried about your coffee grounds, telling your spouse that you're cheating on them? These are the coffee grounds that you should have. Your coffee should look like this. And now these coffee grounds. This is a looks like a Turkish coffee here. Got a nice little heart on the bottom.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I recognize that. Yeah.
Isn't that cute? Yeah. Now, what she sent in, this is it. Okay. So this is, you can see this coffee is saying, "Oh my God, your
Yeah.
husband is cheating on you." So if your
Yes, it
coffee looks
is.
like that, don't send it in, or stop cheating. I don't know. This is what in the world. This isn't one of Karen's coaching sessions on how to save your marriage. Do you have one of those, by the way?
We could.
Oh, wow.
I love it.
But those really aren't coffee grounds, really.
I know technically that I tried to find some good coffee grounds.
Oh, okay.
Go Karen. Now we talk about this. We're talking about Chat GPT and AI. So I'm using AI to try and find some good pictures, and I enter coffee grounds with a face in it, and I got terrible responses, which I was disappointed because if I enter tortilla with a face on it, I get Jesus, I get Abraham Lincoln, I get Donald Trump, I get everybody. But coffee grounds, no faces. So this was the best that don't blame the search engine, blame Google. That's
Okay.
Google.
Okay.
All right. So speaking of artificial intelligence, this story comes from China. Car dealership in China is trying to appeal to younger buyers by using a humanoid robotic car salesperson called Mormeen. Here's a picture of Mormeen right here. But I know they can be both sexes. This is a female car salesperson here, Mormeen, who can perceive the gestures of the people that come walking in, and also their words. And from the gestures and the words, they determine the right car and the right price to sell them a car for. It's so realistic that the robot actually carries photos of her new baby robot, and also the picture of her other kid who's in college, so she can get the sympathy of the customers. God, I got a kid in college. I got to buy diapers. Come on, buy a car, please.
Oh,
Now, she is the only salesperson working there who, when she goes for a test drive, she plugs her finger into the cigarette lighter to get recharged while they're driving.
oh,
Good
that
idea.
is unique.
Yeah.
That's unique.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I know I wouldn't put my finger in the charger.
Yeah.
If you no. So Karen agrees with that.
Yes, I do. I do.
If you try to walk, if you try to walk out without buying, it runs after you yelling, "Danger, Will Robinson, danger!" So
Oh, right. Yeah. Back to Lost in Space.
I know there's a reference for all the 50 and older people in our listening audience. Okay. Speaking of romance, we've been kind of diving in and out of romance here. So according to a new study, women, this is for us, John, women are more attractive to bald men than they are to guys with hair. So, I need to warn my friends of a certain age that this means your head and not your ears and your nose, but strictly, no hair on your head.
Wow.
Yeah. Oh no, this includes your ear and nose. I'm sorry. I should have read the script. I should have gone to rehearsal. That's what I should have
Yes, you should have.
So if women like bald men, that means the worst place to pick up a potential date is at the drugstore in the shampoo aisle, because in the shampoo aisle, that's not where the bald guys hang out. I don't know, Karen, do you agree with this?
No, I
No.
prefer hair on the head.
Hair on the head. That's
Yeah,
good.
not on the face, on the head. Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
Not a problem. Okay. So the study that they did, they said it explains the appeal of people like Jason Stratham, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. You can see how handsome he is. Vin Diesel. But if bald guys are preferable to women, what about Voldemort? Bald. What about Dr. Evil? Bald.
Ooh, no.
Lex Luthor? Bald.
No.
My favorite, Nosferatu. Also bald.
Oh,
Yeah.
The German vampire. There he is.
So Karen, I think most people are sticking with you on those.
Yeah.
So I had a female friend respond to this on Facebook, and she said that shaved bald heads don't count. She said men who are bald by genetics or whatever, okay, but shaved bald heads, she said, were different. Those don't count. Those are not as sexy as a natural bald head, which I agree. You should earn your sex appeal the hard way.
that's right. Exactly.
Yeah, like we did, worrying 40 years about losing our hair. At some point,
we're paying a penance, Paul, so to speak, right?
Exactly. That's right. I would have preferred Hail Marys, John, but there's a joke for our Catholic friends out there. And before you waste your money, the fake bald heads don't count. Like these right here. That doesn't. You can't.
That's a cap he
out.
has on of some kind, right? Yeah.
They make you look like you're auditioning for clown school or something.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So those don't count. You can't use those. Okay. Time for a world record. You know how much we love world records on What in the World. So this week is a weird sports world record. So of course, weird sports world record. That means I turn it over to my buddy John Donalo to talk about this weird sports world record. So tell us about it, John.
Okay, Paul, I will. Sure. So Polish runner Pavel Durkiewicz set a new Guinness World Record when he ran a marathon. Get ready for this. across a frozen lake barefoot in 4 hours, 57 minutes, and 54 seconds. That's right. A marathon in bare feet running over a frozen lake.
Wow.
Ooh.
Yeah. I mean, I don't even like walking on the bare floor in the kitchen in the winter. So I can't imagine walking, let alone running a marathon on a frozen lake.
Ugh, no.
Oh, no kidding, Paul. So evidently, he told the news service in Russia that, or excuse me, in Poland, TVP News, he was ready to turn around after 500 meters because his mind was screaming.
How could he hear his mind screaming over his feet screaming?
Hey, I know that's a question, Paul, that I'm not sure I have an answer to. But
There's a picture of I could he looks terrible already. If he's only
yeah,
500 meters into it, he already looks terrible.
well, here it is. He should have listened to them.
To his
Pavel
feet.
said,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Pavel said that his feet started to bleed at the 10-kilometer mark, and he struggled until the 15-kilometer mark when he says he turned off the pain and already knew that he was going to be able to complete the marathon.
It's amazing what thinking about wool socks for a couple hours does for your feet.
Yeah, I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Whatever he was thinking, he made it to the finish line, and doctors there said he had no signs of frostbite, just some bloody toes that they were able to bandage.
Wow. This so
No
so
frostbite?
oh
Wow.
frostbite.
No,
Yeah, wow. Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so there he is. There he is with his bloody feet. The poor guy, he sets a world record, but nobody's going to offer him an endorsement for shoes.
no, and I'll tell you what, knowing this person's constitution, that probably won't stop him. He also, get ready for this, holds world records for the fastest Olympic triathlon barefoot and the fastest half marathon barefoot.
Wow.
Wow.
Pavel is Polish, so I'm sure the first thing he did before putting on his shoes was to stuff a couple of hot pierogies in them.
Oh.
Well,
Ah.
and his expression goes, if the shoe fits, wear it.
Ah.
If the shoe fits and it's stuffed with potatoes,
Potato pierogi, Paul. Yeah.
that's a good suggestion, John. I might think of that myself. That's all right. Great story, John. The man who runs a full marathon in under 5 hours. That's let alone
It's an incredible story.
yeah. Even if he had shoes on a frozen lake. Uh,
Right.
now
Exactly.
I saw one of those pictures had a bunch of medals. So this is a regular and annual marathon for people who run with their shoes on across the frozen lake. So who knows? We might be back here next year with somebody
Yeah.
who breaks the record. Yeah, yeah. How
Right.
about
That's
wow?
exactly right.
Good one. Thanks, John.
You're welcome, Paul. Karen,
The
audience.
world,
Sure.
the Walt Disney Company announced this week it will open its seventh theme park. I can't believe there's that many Disney parks around the world. They're opening their seventh one, and it will be located. No surprise here, on Yas Island in Abu Dhabi, in the United Arab Emirates. Disney in the United Arab Emirates. And I was hoping that it would be a Hanna-Barbera theme park, not Disney.
Well,
You
they're
know,
covering the Middle East, right? I mean, covering the
yeah,
Middle
well,
East, right?
if you think about the Hanna-Barbera characters, John, this would mean instead of Mickey Mouse, they would have Fred Flintstone.
Yubba dubba
But
doo.
yeah,
Good one, Karen. Good one.
he'd be yelling, "Yeah, Abu Dhabi dude." That's it. So because of the heat at this place, here's a picture of they this is a drawing. It's not that they have
Artist rendering, right?
artist rendering. Thank you. Very nice artist rendering too. Probably artificial intelligence. Um, the Because of the heat, all the water rides will cost double. So you have to pay for pool.
Right.
Yeah, and there's no Fantasyland because I mean, you're already in fantasy land. You're in Abu Dhabi, which is like the
Right.
fantasy land, real fantasy land of Earth.
Mm-hmm.
Some changes in the characters. So Mickey and Minnie will be replaced by Aladdin and Prince Jasmine in mouse ears, to fit with the fact that it's in the United Arab Emirates.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then also to keep in coordination with local traditions, Daisy Duck will be forced to wear a burqa, but Donald Duck can still go around with no pants. So,
Oh, wow. Too strange. Too strange.
too strange is right, yeah. But it's the sign of the times, John. It's the sign of the times.
I think you're right, Paul.
All right. So here's a good, I don't talk too much about UFOs on What in the World, but this was a great UFO story from last week. A man in Bonner Springs, Kansas, was on a motorcycle ride when he looked up and he saw this UFO. It was a large black ring in the sky that he couldn't explain. So he posted a photo of it on Facebook, and that plus the media covering it whipped locals into a frenzy, thinking that they were being invaded by aliens. And I said, calm down, people. This just means that the aliens haven't elected a pope yet.
Oh.
It's not a ship. It's not a ship. This is a common UFO report is these smoke rings. So one of my least favorites of the UFO sightings I have to cover when I write for Mysterious Universe. And I had many people point out to me on Facebook that it's not a UFO. It's probably a smoke from a diesel truck, a diesel pickup truck. So I'm thinking, if this is what aliens are driving now instead of spaceship, diesel pickup,
Oh,
I know
boy.
where to find all the aliens. They're down in Texas. The other thing, part of the problem is kids don't know about blowing smoke rings anymore because nobody smokes cigars anymore. I don't think you can blow a smoke ring from a vape pen or whatever these kids are
No,
smoking.
I don't think so. I don't think I've ever seen that.
Yeah, back in the old day, knowing how to blow smoke rings was a rite of passage, and a sign of maturity, and also a sign that your doctor was going to have one of those talks with you that you better stop pretty soon.
They better slow down or you're going to be in trouble.
You're going to be in trouble. That's right, because that you really don't see people blowing smoke rings anymore. So some people said that it didn't look like smoke, but it looked more like a swarm of insects. Which
that's possible, I guess. I guess that's possible, right?
Yeah, I don't know, John. If mosquitoes are watching drones and starting to learn from drones how to circle, we're in big trouble. So,
well, what's interesting about this photo is that look, it's almost like a perfect circle in a way, right?
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's kind of interesting.
Well, one of the other things that this could be is a cannon. Like something that they shoot off like at carnivals or
right, sure,
fairs. So oftentimes that's what this is, or if a chimney, a smokestack,
right,
backed up, and all of a sudden a big burst of smoke comes out.
Right.
So this is one where you can find all kind of really reasonable explanations other than aliens. And yet, people call the poor police and the mayor's office and want to know why there's aliens invading their little town in Kansas. So,
well, yeah, understand that too.
Well, John, you know what happens? They start thinking about the apocalypse. They think, the aliens are coming. They start thinking about the apocalypse. So, I don't like thinking about the apocalypse, but scientists are telling us that we really should start thinking about it. And in a new study, they said that to prepare for the apocalypse, to prepare for the the thing that kills almost all life on Earth, to be a survivor, if you're a survivor and you want to have something to eat, you should learn how to grow spinach, sugar beets, wheat, and carrots. Those are the four things that they say would be the best things to grow if you're the survivor after a big nuclear Holocaust or whatever it is that kills everybody off except you and your neighbor that you used to hate.
That's a good way to put that,
And
Paul.
where are we
Yeah.
going to get the seeds to plant these?
I guess you're supposed to store them in a bomb-proof container.
Oh, okay. I'll do
In
that.
case you're a survivor. Don't so when you're running out the door or when you're hiding under the bed, make sure you take that container with you full
Yeah,
of seeds.
exactly. Okay.
The I think this is awfully boring food myself, but maybe the roaches will get bored too and they won't eat your food. Now, I said that on Facebook, and a friend of mine wrote in and she said that, why are you chasing away the roaches? Roaches are really good food. So she's got a point there. Maybe these are attractive to roaches, and then you catch the roaches and you get your protein and whatever else.
Yeah.
You can have your
Okay.
protein.
Yeah. Now, but these ingredients are also good for something else, provided you save your dirty socks, because inside your dirty socks is a fungus, and with the fungus and all this other stuff, you mix it all together, you can make beer. So
Oh, geez.
Oh.
Wow.
that you can tell where my mind is going there.
Yeah.
So for everybody out there, could you live on nothing but spinach, sugar beets, wheat, and carrots? Karen,
Well,
could you?
Probably could, because
Yeah.
I like veggies. So yeah.
How about you, John?
yeah. I mean, if push comes to shove, if you're not going to have any other food source, I mean, yeah. What's the
No,
alternative? Not having the
I,
food? Oh,
okay,
yeah.
John, but remember, you could make pasta out of this, but no meatballs.
Wait a second. Wait a minute. Well, hey, I'm hoping this never happens in my lifetime. That's all I can
Right.
say. That's
I
all
feel
I
the
can
same
say.
way, John, because I was looking, I said maybe I could make some spinach pierogies, but there's nothing in there that goes in kielbasi.
Oh yeah, all the meat that you couldn't have a chance to consume. Oh, that's a
Yeah,
scary
yeah.
proposition, Paul.
So right. So John, here's your list. Here's your shopping list for your bunker that I know you're building underneath your house. So you need to fill your bunker with Pringles, obviously,
Oh yeah,
cans of Chef Boyardee ravioli that'll survive, and
right.
beer. Those are the three things. Um, okay, our next. We like local stories on what in the world, but we'll get away from the apocalypse here. So this one comes from Bezetta Township, Ohio. Do you know where that is? Bezetta Township. Have you ever heard of that?
Never
No,
heard
I
of it.
haven't.
No, me neither. I had to look it up. It's in Trumbull County, which is south of here, north of Warren. So, believe it or not, that area has a very famous facility that a lot of people from around the world come to visit. It's the National Packard Museum. Now, for
I've
Ah,
been there.
okay, sure.
yeah, you kids out there, that's a
Yeah.
Packard right there. Packards were one of the luxury cars back in the day when the American car companies made luxury cars. Absolutely beautiful, big land yacht cars. Um, Packard was founded by James Ward Packard, his brother William Packard, and their partner George Weiss, who all lived in Warren, Ohio, right down the street from Bezetta Township. And they made Packard automobiles in a plant down there from 1899 until 1903. And Packard, by the way, they were very innovative cars. They had the first modern steering wheel. So I don't know what they had before then, but they innovated the modern steering wheel. They were the first to have air conditioning in a passenger car, very important these days, and the first production 12-cylinder engines, which they made for planes during World War II. So after they finished doing that, they developed the technology. They retrofitted it into cars. So these were cool cars. I mean,
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
wow.
12 cylinders, yeah. So what was I? Oh, I was talking about. So I have a local story. Now that's not it. Uh, there was a beekeeper in Bezetta Township, and he has a ring camera in his area where the hives are, and his ring camera goes off like crazy in the middle of the night, and he looks to see what it is, and it's a bear. A bear had
Wow.
Yeah, broken into his in Warren, Ohio, right down the street from a bear, big looks like a brown bear, I guess, or
Mm-hmm.
so it broke in and it stole an entire hive containing, besides honey, 50,000 bees.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, 50,000 bees. So Bezetta police immediately sent out a warning. They said to residents to be on the lookout for a bear with a tongue which is swollen the size of an
Oh my
inflatable bear.
gosh.
Yeah, wow.
If I'm getting stung from 50,000 bees, if a bear ate an entire hive of bees, it would need more than Charmin when it goes out in the woods.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think
I would say so.
so.
I would agree with that one.
Maybe some
Wow.
aloe vera or some preparation
Mhm.
H, or I don't know.
Wow.
This happens in Brecksville usually once a year. A bear will be spotted in Brecksville where I live, and it's almost always by in the yard of one of the beekeepers, the many beekeepers that we have in Brecksville, um, which is why I don't raise honey. I raise grapes in my yard for the vinegar because
Okay.
yeah, you remember that old saying, you can catch less bears with vinegar than you can with honey.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Everybody remembers that old saying. Okay.
Oh, sure.
All right. So we talked about the Pope, elected last week. Everybody's all celebrating an American Pope. The ink is barely dry on his contract. Pope Leo the 14th already has his own bobblehead doll. There it
Oh
is,
my
right there.
gosh.
Pope Leo the 14th bobblehead doll. Selling online for $30. This is a big bobblehead doll company. They're already working on a full Catholic version. Now, this one, only the head bobbles, but eventually they'll have a full Catholic version where his knees bobble as well while he's genuflecting.
Oh, geez.
Whoa.
It it's it's so realistic. It also acts as a compass. If you whisper in his ear, the Bears, the head points to Chicago.
Got it.
Oh, wow.
Okay, good.
Hope's from Chicago, yeah. It's so realistic. The head falls off if you hold it next to a J.D. Vance bobblehead doll.
Oh, no.
Oh,
Now, I thought Pope Leo the 14th must be the first religious figure to ever have his own bobblehead doll. I was wrong on many counts there. For one thing, Pope Francis also had one. But the original, the very first bobblehead doll ever created, believe it or not, 17th century in Asia, it was a Buddha bobblehead doll. Now, this is not one. This is a modern Buddha bobblehead doll. But the first bobblehead dolls were of Buddha in the 17th century.
Wow.
They were called temple knotters. I don't know what that means, but I guess people thought Buddha was smiling and nodding to them, and they must have been doing something good. Um, the National Bobblehead Hall of Fame. This is right up your alley, John. There's actually a Hall of Fame for bobblehead dolls. I don't think your collection would match the 10,000 that they have there.
No, I'm not nearly close enough to that, obviously.
No,
Wow.
but if you want to take a trip up there, it's in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and they have bobblehead dolls from around the world, including a life-size bobblehead doll. Now, I thought, well, there must only be one, but there's actually many of them. This is one from the museum. This is Ryan Sandberg. Who did he play for, John? He played
Play for the Chicago Cubs.
he
Chicago
plays
Cubs.
for the Chicago Cubs. Okay, so that's a
Yes.
life-size bobblehead doll of Sandberg.
Wow.
Uh, they also now they don't have this, but the world's largest bobblehead doll is not far from us. It's in Pennsylvania, and I think we talked about this on the show before.
oh,
It's at an Ollie's um, uh, um, warehouse in
Uh-huh.
not a warehouse, but a discount. One of those discount extravaganza stores. This Ollie, which is their mascot, 16 feet high, fully functioning. I don't know what that means. Other than his head, I don't want to see anything else functioning on
Yeah.
it.
Yeah, really.
But it's at the Ollie's Bargain Outlet in Paxtonia, Pennsylvania, which is near Harrisburg. So it's not that far, a couple-hour drive here if you're interested in going to see the world's largest bobblehead doll. To add to your collection, John, it might even be for sale.
I don't know where we could put that guy, but
On your front lawn.
oh, I don't know how far. Well,
Wouldn't that be something?
if he's
Yeah.
on if he's on my front lawn, I'll be on the front lawn. I'll be at the house.
Yeah. It will be better than in the backyard looking down on your hot tub. I don't
Yeah,
think
there you go. There you
yeah,
have it.
that bobblehead
Right.
bobbling down there.
Wow, look at that guy.
Okay, so we got a monkey story here. You know how I love monkey stories. New study by primatologists found that chimpanzees in the wild drum on trees with a regular rhythm when they beat them. They beat them with their hands. Here's a picture of one beating on a tree with his hand. They beat on with a regular rhythm, just like human drummers do. Not surprisingly, the chimpanzees that do the best drumming are also the ones that die first. So just like the drummers in rock groups, same thing happens to the chimps. Another thing that sign that chimps are smarter than we give them credit for. If they're drumming and they happen to see a human in a jeep go into a ditch, they immediately switch to the drum solo in Wipeout.
Oh wow.
Oh,
Who did that first, John? Wipeout.
The safaris.
The Safaris, that's right. Speaking of musical groups, I think we saw the drumming chimps open for Counting Crows back in the day.
Well, you know what? Again, I have to go back to. I have to defer to you, Paul, on that because I don't remember that.
I remember that one. Okay. Well, for our buddy Don down in Florida, this could be why Bigfoot knocks too, because he descended from a common ancestor like we all are. Okay, this is a zipper story. So this is a company by the name of YKK in Japan. They're the world's largest zipper manufacturer. Allegedly, if you look at any zipper in your collection, 9 times out of 10, it reads YKK on it somewhere because all zippers are made by this company. So they've unveiled, get ready for this, a self-propelled zipper. For those of you who are too lazy to zip up your own pants or dress, there's a built-in motor and a gear mechanism that zips itself up at the push of a button on a remote control.
Wow.
Yeah.
No kidding.
If you don't have your Father's Day present yet, this is it right here.
Yeah, right.
I could see plenty of fathers hoping that they get something like this. Although, now I have a garage door opener that gets stuck all the time. So there's no way I want to put this anywhere near in my pants.
Yeah.
Let's just put it there.
Don't blame you, Paul, on that one.
Terrifies me. Yeah. So the company actually is not just for clothing. They're focusing on industrial zippers, like on tents, and on big canvas things where you can't reach very easily or it's too hard. So you can use the remote control and it zips all this stuff automatically. These things are yards long. Yeah. I can't believe though that they'd pass up all the business that they could get in big and tall shops.
Yeah, that's true. Wow.
Here's my question, John, Music Man. Would the album Sticky Fingers have been as popular if it had a power zipper on the front rather than the zipper that it had?
I'm going to say no, because as I recall, when that album debuted in the 70s, it was really not only a conversation piece, but it was something that everyone wanted to have. I mean, I think all the people that I grew up with, everyone had that album, right?
That's right.
Whether you're a Rolling Stones fan or not. I mean, it was just such a unique product that it really stood out like that. Yeah.
And everybody, not just the women, everybody unzipped it to see what was inside.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
That's it. The so yeah, I agree with you. It wouldn't be the same. The and plus the And never mind, I'll skip that one.
You don't want to go there. Don't go
Yeah.
there, Paul.
No, I had
It's a
too much
family
trouble
show.
getting
We
it
can have a
out.
family
Yeah.
show here. Let's not go there.
So this is the original cover of Sticky Fingers right here. We're looking at it. It's a pair of jeans with a zipper on it, and obviously the requisite bulge. It was a working zipper. It had a belt buckle. It opened. There was a pair of white briefs on the inside, if you remember.
Mm-hmm.
The name was across the belt. The name of the album. Um, the uh, um, the name inside was not Mick Jagger. Everybody thought that it was Mick Jagger's jeans and zipper and everything, but it said Andy Warhol on the inside, but it was not Andy Warhol either. It was a friend of Andy Warhol who we thought was worthy of being on the cover. Now, as risque as this was, and it was pretty risque in our time, 1970, I believe it came out, or 71. Um, it was so risque that it was banned in certain countries, not in the United States, but it was banned in Spain by Generalissimo Francisco Franco was still in charge there. So he banned it. So the Rolling Stones came out with an alternate Sticky Fingers cover for just for Spain. John, have you heard this piece of trivia?
No, I have not. This is all news to me.
Okay, wait till you see this cover. If the zipper was too risque, instead they came up with a can, like a can of beans, opened with amputated fingers floating in a liquid inside of it, and that was okay in Spain. But
That's really gross, if you ask me.
isn't that wild? The
Wow.
Yeah, Cannon Fingers it was called. That was they referred to it as the Cannon Fingers, but worth $1 million now if you have one. So.
Oh, I bet it would be. Sure.
So, John, I'll give you an easier trivia question. Can you name one song on the Sticky Fingers album?
Can't You Hear Me Knocking?
Can't You Hear Me Knocking? My perfect song, my favorite Rolling Stones song. Also, Brown Sugar and Wild Horses were on that album. Considered in most lists one of the top 10 albums of all time.
Sure.
And on that note, I know everybody wants me to get these severed fingers off of the
thank you
screen there. So we'll switch from severed fingers to John Donalo and What in the World of Sports. Every week I ask my buddy John, who I've known since college. He knows more about sports than anybody else I know. I said, John, find us a sport that fits with the theme. What in the world of sports? Real sport, sometimes strange, always funny. John always manages to find one. He's got a great one this week. John, take it away. Your photos are lined up and ready to go.
Sounds great, Paul. So our sport this week is very unique. It's called combat juggling, and it is also known as gladiator and what the hell. Now, once everyone hears the details, you will agree that all three names fit. Combat juggling is a combination sport and martial art played by two or more players juggling 3 clubs each. Combat juggling matches can be one-on-one, where 2 players juggle against each other, between 2 or more teams of 2 or more players each, or in a group where everyone plays against everyone. Now, this is where the name What the Hell came from. Now, the object of the game is for players to maintain their own juggling pattern while attempting to make the opponent drop 1 or more clubs, and there are some basic rules to follow when carrying this out. The players start by juggling 3 clubs at the same time. While juggling, they are allowed to interfere with other players' patterns in an attempt to make them drop. They can only attack their opponent's clubs, not their bodies. And they can also reach in and steal an opponent's clubs. Anyone who is no longer juggling at least 3 clubs because they dropped them, collected, or has had a club stolen by an opponent is out of the game. Now, it is a non-contact sport, and the object is to attack the clubs instead of the juggler. However, some contact is allowed. In one-on-one combat, the player who drops will not gain a point, while the player who maintains the juggling longer than the opponent and finishes their pattern clearly by catching all three clubs without dropping them will. The last person left juggling wins the competition. In group combat, players compete against each other in an open group combat and attempt to interfere with other players juggling, while the winner being the last to remain juggling all three clubs. Competitive combat juggling is becoming popular in both Europe and the United States, with the most important international competitions being the European Juggling Convention and the British Juggling Convention Fight Night. Karen, this is for you. The World Juggling Federation also sponsors a major league team version of combat juggling. So again, it is organized and it is sanctioned. Now, combat jugglers say their sport is exciting to watch and play, easy to follow and learn, and gives lonely jugglers a reason to get together. They're hoping for more coverage on TV and even an exhibition at the Summer Olympics. And finally, there's the best part of combat juggling: no clowns.
Oh, good one.
That's right. Yeah, we don't want to see clowns juggling.
You know, let me offer this if I can. This is just really, it's not really unique, it's just really weird. I mean, it's just, I mean, we of course covered many weird, strange sports here on our show, right? But when you think of this, I mean, it's just weird.
Yeah.
I like the idea that they said it's for lonely jugglers, because that's usually what jugglers are. You spend hours and hours and days and weeks and months.
Yeah,
and
really.
learning how to juggle. But I like this, the one where, really the what the hell version that you talked about, where there's all kind of people on the field or the court juggling and trying to knock each other over and trying to hit their clubs into other people's clubs and still keep juggling. That looks like mayhem. That would be a great.
Oh, it is mayhem, Paul, for sure. And
Yeah.
think of this: these people are athletic. I mean, in terms of what they're doing, I
Oh,
think
yeah.
juggling is a very difficult activity, right? It is. You hand-to-eye coordination and so on and so forth, right? But yeah,
Yeah. And also for women too. There was a picture in there
yes.
of women competitors as well as men. So
Right,
looks like
exactly.
a great sport. I agree with you, John. When you said that, I thought, yeah, I've never heard of anything like this. But then I started to think that way back when we were in college, I believe that another fraternity challenged us to a match of combat juggling. Do you remember anything about that?
You know, I really don't, and I know that I couldn't have participated because I can't juggle worth a darn.
Oh,
When I
contrary.
was no, wait a minute. Now, when I was a kid, we had a couple people in my neighborhood that could do that, right? I had a real
Yeah.
good friend of mine across the street, right? I mean, he could do it for a half an hour at a time. Me, not so fortunate.
Well,
Wasn't
you
able to
you
do it.
managed to, from according to the photos, John, and my record, you managed to juggle at least one. I do know how to juggle. I think I knew how to juggle back in college. Obviously, I did. You'll see why. So another fraternity challenged us to combat juggling, and as usual, the older brother said, "You, John and Paul, you guys do this because we're too busy." So John and I went out. We got juggling equipment. But we didn't know what we were supposed to do. So I thought, combat juggling, there must be some sort of aggressive thing. So I thought I would use flaming juggling equipment.
Oh
So,
no.
oh yeah. So here's a picture of me. Now, unfortunately, I lit my hair on fire. So I didn't get the look at that. I like my uniform. It looks like I was wearing a diaper
I
there.
like your outfit.
Oh my gosh.
I wet my pants, which I must have with my hair on fire like that. Fortunately, as always, John, I can't believe you don't remember this. You found something that you felt comfortable with juggling, and that was wine bottles. So here's John juggling wine bottles. And believe it or not, we ended up winning against the other team. Now, as I mentioned before, we had no respect for the other fraternity. These guys were a bunch of clowns, and what they did was they grabbed one of John's wine bottles and started drinking it, and we won by default. So that was the end of that.
Well, I'm glad
That was
all's
good.
well that ends well, Paul and Karen and audience. So that's good. That's good to hear.
There you go, a clown. I couldn't find a clown juggling. I guess that nobody likes to see clowns juggling. Anyways, all right. Well, that's it for another episode of What in the World of Sports with John Donello. Thanks again, John, for that story. That means it's time for everybody's favorite weird news game, Bluff the co-host. Rules are simple. I have 3 stories similar to the ones we've been talking about all afternoon. One big difference. Those stories were real. These stories may be real. They may be a bluff. And it's up to you, Karen and John, to decide real or bluff. Wagering is allowed, so place your bets. John and Karen, hands on the buzzer. Let's get right to story number 1. A group of German art researchers was allowed to make some close examinations of the Mona Lisa painting in the Louvre in order to figure out once and for all if she's smiling or frowning, and they finally have an answer. She's doing neither. Instead, they believe the model was suffering from gas, or as they called it back then, the vapors. She got the condition from wearing a corset that forced her to be able to sit up straight for hours while Da Vinci painted her. And the art researchers are convinced her expression was a grimace caused by holding in the gas until her break time. Fans of the painting and art historians aren't smiling either, and they're demanding more research on their beloved Mona Lisa's smile. Okay, so the researchers from Germany who studied the Mona Lisa, and they say she's not smiling, she's not frowning, she's grimacing from trying to hold in the gas, wearing a corset. Real or bluff? Karen, we'll start with you.
Well, I hope it's a bluff because I would hate to think of the poor Mona Lisa suffering from flatulence. So
well said, Karen. Well said.
yeah,
Okay,
so bluff.
Karen thinks it's a bluff. John, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with Karen. I mean, it would just kind of take away from the luster and take away from the significance of Mona Lisa's smile. How could they try to, again, I just off on a tangent on this one, how do they determine that? I mean, these researchers, I think it's a bluff.
Okay, so both Karen and John think it's a bluff. There's no way scientists could figure something like that out. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say, congratulations to both of you. That is a bluff.
All right, very good. It's good to start off with the first question or the first situation we get it right, Karen. That's great.
Yeah, there you go.
Move.
Wow,
it's been a good
roll here. So scores tied 1-1. Let's get right to story number 2. If you've had enough of the Kardashians, that's too bad because they're now invading your grocery store. Kim Kardashian has invested in a mushroom farm that raises a special oversized fungus that looks a lot like that part of Kim Kardashian that is also oversized and mushroom shaped. Kim wanted to call her shrooms porta booties, but her advisors suggested something a little less obvious, so they'll be called Kimtaki mushrooms. These are believed to be the first celebrity mushrooms ever. So her sisters are waiting to see how well they sell, and if they do, the whole family could get into the fanny fungus business.
Oh.
All right, so Kim Kardashian comes out with her own line of giant mushrooms. Real or bluff? John, we'll start with you.
Well, on this one, Paul and Karen and audience, I'm going to pray it's a bluff.
Would you eat a Kim Kardashian butt mushroom?
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'm gonna just leave it at that. Let's leave it at that.
All right, Karen, I won't ask you that question, but what do you think? Real or bluff?
I think it's a bluff as well. I mean, the Kardashians are a little eccentric, to say the least, but this is not something I can see them doing.
Oh, okay. All right. So both Karen and John say that Kim Kardashian butt mushrooms is a bluff. The judges say congratulations to both of you for seeing through that one. It is a bluff.
But
All right, Karen, 2 for 2.
Wow,
Two for
two
two.
for two. Okay, well, let's get right to story number 3. Let's see. Points are doubled in round number 3, but it doesn't matter here. We're going to have a winner or a tie, which means everybody's a winner. So, customers at a cheese sandwich restaurant in St. Andrews, Scotland, have been complaining about seagulls that steal their food when they sit outside. So, the owner has come up with a clever way to deal with the problem: seagull insurance. For an extra £1, customers can purchase seagull insurance, which guarantees a free replacement if a gull takes their sandwich, no matter how much or how little they've eaten. The seagull insurance must be purchased at the time of ordering and is only good for one steal, but customers seem to like it, and so do the gulls. Now, nobody gets upset when they go for the Gouda or snatch the Swiss. Okay, so the restaurant in Scotland dealt with their seagull problem by selling seagull insurance. Real or bluff? Karen, we'll go back to you.
well, it sounds like an extremely odd story. And if I knew the seagulls were stealing my food because I was sitting outside, I would sit inside. So I think it's a bluff.
Okay, logic says it's a bluff. All right. How about you, John?
No, I agree with Karen. I think it's a bluff. I mean, it's something that I think that could be done, right? But how involved is this? Like, you have to have insurance that your sandwich is not taken by an animal. I mean, I'm going to say it's preposterous.
Oh, not just a bluff, but preposterous.
Big
Okay.
word, big word.
Wow. All right. Well, let's check with the judge. Both of our panelists here say that it's a bluff. Let's check with the judges, and the judges say they have good news and bad news. The bad news is that's a real story.
Really?
Really?
Yes. The good news is you tied.
Yeah.
Hey, very
You'll
good,
go home
Karen.
a winner.
Everyone goes
Yeah.
home, not a loser. Let's put it that
That's
way.
right.
There you go. There you go. The
Paul,
restaurant is a real cheese. It's actually a cheese sandwich shop, and they sell the insurance. They said this is unbelievable. They made so much money that they felt guilty about it, so they gave some of the money to charity. But
that's a good motive then. But
yeah,
again, it's on What in the World, so anything's possible.
anything is possible on What in the World. That's right. And speaking of that, what's also possible is we've reached the end of another episode of What in the World. So I want to thank Karen Hale, our media mogul, producer, co-host, all-around great person. Thanks for everything you do for our podcast and for all the podcasts on your platform, newclevelandradio.net. Thanks also for Yes I Can Coaching with Karen, our sponsor. Please, everybody, visit newclevelandradio.net. Download our podcast. Download all the other great podcasts Karen had. Watch us on YouTube. If you do that, please follow us as well, so we get a feel for how many people are watching and following. You can also contact Karen through newclevelandradio.net. There's a link to send her a message. Go to my Facebook page. You can send me a message there. Go to my website, paulseaburn.com. You can send me a message there. We love to hear from you. We have people who send us stories all the time, and comments as well. So, please, by all means, feel free to do that. I also want to thank my old buddy, John Dinallo. Great stories today. Thanks for being our co-host and an all-around good guy.
Oh, thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
And hopefully we'll see we'll see those Cavaliers out.
I'm kind of hoping. Yeah, I'm hoping the Cavs are gonna come back strong today, and I'm rooting for them. I think the fans are rooting for them, and let's hope it's a good outcome. And by the time we have our show next week, we'll know if they are still in the playoffs.
That's right. That's right.
Great.
Speaking of fans, as always, we want to thank you, our listeners. You're the reason why we do this every week. We hope you have as much fun listening as we do, putting on What in the World. Every week on Tuesday at 3:30 or at some other time, depending on what's going on. Time or day to be determined. Right now, we're still planning to be here next Tuesday at 3:30. So check us out. Then again, check all those places that I mentioned before. I hope everyone has